Okay, here's our video today. How the Y chromosome makes a male. You know, if you took biology, if you took living environment, which is the new name of biology nowadays in high school, well, you know that an X and a Y sex chromosome, X and Y is a boy. So let's write that down. And two X's make a girl. So let's write it down over here. So if you have an XY, that's a boy, and two X's, that's a girl. But why? Why does the Y make a male? And of course, it's all in the genes. And we'll talk about those genes in this video. And by the way, the Y, it's not really Y-shaped like you're seeing in the picture there. It was only that simple. It's not really, more like a blob. But anyway, there's that Y shape. It doesn't really look like that. And the Y, by the way, is very small compared to the X. It's about 5 times smaller. And it has about, I'll write this down over here, it has about 50 to 70 genes. We'll say 70 genes on the Y, whereas the X could have 900 genes. So X is much bigger. And by the way, the biggest, by the way, I'm using a lot of by the ways today. The biggest chromosome 1, could have 3,000 genes. And the Y is small, but it's not the smallest. Chromosome 21 is smaller. But anyway, let's get to the genes. And here's a colorized version. It's not really that color of the X and the Y. See, the Y is smaller. It's actually smaller than that. And I guess you can squint your eyes and see a Y somehow, right? If you try to focus in, but it's really more of a blob, right? But they call it the Y. So you normally see these drawings of chromosomes, and this is how we'll use it for the Y. And then every chromosome will have a short arm. And the short arm, and let's make sure the pen's working. Should we stick with yellow? No, let's go to red. So the short arm is called the P arm. And the long arms are called the Q. So the P and the Q. So on the short arm, and of course, we have a centomere, which kind of binds it together. And these are the telomeres that you're not seeing, but the telomere is on the bottom over here, and telomeres over here. Let's write that down. Change the color. So on the ends, again, is the telomere. We say telomeres. And of course, the telomeres, as the cells divide over and over again, the telomeres will get shorter. So there's some evidence out there that if there's a way of preventing the telomeres from shortening, maybe there's a chance of saving the cell, which could also increase lifespan. Perhaps there's some research on that. Anyway, getting back to the Y. So the gene, and there's other genes we'll talk about, but it's right here. This is the whole story. The sex-determining region gene, the SRY. So let's write that. SRY. This gene is responsible for making a male. Right, and you can see it's not really a blue strand, but this strand here on the P arm is where the gene is located. And there's other genes below it we'll talk about. So this gene, and let's write this down. It's the primary genetic factor. And what it does is it helps develop male sexual development. It helps develop the male reproductive glands. So let's have there. It develops the male reproductive. Go off the line there, but we still see it. Glands. Simple as that. In other words, it triggers the development of these reproductive glands during the embryonic development, while it's an embryo, while it's developing into an embryo. And of course, I'll put in parentheses here, these glands are the testes. And then we get a domino effect happening over here, because the testes will produce testosterone, which is a male sex hormone that drives the development of male-specific traits. All right, the SRY gene. And there's another gene, right? Let's use, we'll use green for the next one. So this is the ZFY gene, and it's located just below it, right around here, in green over there. That's a zinc finger protein Y gene. And this helps in the function of the male reproductive glands. So that's vital also. So here's another look at it over here. And we'll use red just to point it out. As you can see on the P arm, we have, there it is, the SRY gene and the ZFY gene. The little smiley face there. Now here's the thing, if there's damage to the SRY gene and the ZFY gene, then the person won't develop male characteristics. So they could be what they call phenotypically a phenotypic female. Phenotype. So your phenotype is what your appearance looks like compared to your genotype. So in very simple terms, if the person has a kind of damage to the SRY or the ZFY, you will observe them. They will have observable characteristics of a female. Simple as that. They will be, let's write that down too. They will be, if there is damage during embryonic development, that is, if there is damage, there is a to the SRY gene. I should have spaced it there. Looks like spy. The SR. If there is damage to the SRY gene, so the individual will be, again this word, be phenotypical female. They will look female. However, they will be genotypically male. Genotypical male. So again, a damage, a mutation, anything to the SRY gene and the ZFY gene can lead to this. Again, phenotype is the physical appearance, and a genotype is the actual inside, the genes, the traits inside. So in other words, the genotype is what you inherited, what's your genetic makeup, and the phenotype expresses that genetic makeup. All right, that's our video today.